coming to you live and in living color on today. Well, my voice is really heavy today. Sometimes you have to watch your pitch and tone. I hope you all are having a great day because there's so much crap going on in the world and your families and the community. And we seem to be, you would think with all of this modern technology, we would be far better at communicating with each other. And it seems like it's just taking us down this. Well, all we need is these computers. All we need is these mechanisms, and the AI. Now, I gotta tell you something about AI. I was really, really skeptical about even indulging in that. Well, for those of you who know me, I've been, kind of standoffish about technology for a long time. I had my very first computer, my very first office. I got a brand new computer, and I wouldn't take it out the box. I'm like, I need to be able to call you on the phone, write to you. There's no writing, there's no calling, and when it is, it's like I'm just gonna send you a text message, and oh no, I just hit me up on my cell phone. I know I'm old school, but when you all have the privilege of getting to where I am and my peers are, hopefully you will understand that we stand on great shoulders and you'll be standing on our great shoulders. So we really need to learn how to communicate with each other. We oftentimes hear about the age gap. It's a different generation. If that can be all well and good, they said that the baby boomers, and I'm still trying to figure out who they is, because I took a whooping for a bunch of days for drinking up my mama's soda pop when I was a kid. So as soon as I found who they are, y'all gonna be in a bunch of trouble. So, but y'all got a bunch of who are they? They did it. They said it. Well, anyway, they said, and it's the same. They said it's the ones in your family. Just a thought. But we're just gonna use the day. They said that but baby boomers was the greatest generation. I'm a boomer. Then we get generation X, Y, Z, P, W, E, X, Q. And what I see is the commonness in us. There's more that we have collectively that we can sit down and talk about, debate about. And there is, and I'm gonna tell you something. All generations are great. They really are. It's what, you can't help who you're born into. You just can't help that. What you can do is make up, when they take you to the cemetery and got the tombstone, you got the year you're born, 1924 dash, and the year you leave the planet, 2024. That's 100 years. Dad would have been 100 years old on the planet. And the things he saw, the things he heard, the things he had to do, and all of the ones that were in that ilk. Because a lot of a lot of people didn't make it to get to be that old. A lot of people didn't make it to get 60. And then once we do, you realize, oh, I think I should have taken better care of myself. And if I didn't know what I know now, if I had known that I would live this long, I really would have taken better care of myself. And so what I'm imploring for you to do, my babies, each and every one of you, some babies, they can't stand your mother, and I get that. That's why mother love is. You got to have somebody to come and tell, somebody to come and talk to who will listen to you and see you and hear you. And I'm saying I see you and I hear you. And I know that we can communicate better than what we're doing. We can all the technology. I mean, my husband got a gadget, some kind of doodad he got, and he could just touch his phone and it turns the lights on when we're not even in the house yet, turns the air conditioning on or off. And I'm like, I thought we were going for, because he's a gadget guy. So he's like, all these gadgets, I can communicate with the world. I can go to Fiji, I can go to Thailand all in one day. And I'm like, which is really good because that's how I travel without all the excess baggage. Nonetheless, he's got a gadget that he can turn on all of these electronic devices and communicate the computer. And I'm still really like not dumbfounded, but I'm like, look at how fast we're going with technology. And we're losing a lot of our humanity in the technology. We're losing all of our abilities to sit and fellowship with one another, talk with one another. Fellowship doesn't just mean that that's where you go to worship your faith. Fellowship is people coming over to your house, or you coming over to their house, and you sit down, you play some cards, you eat some food, you drink some wine, you drink whatever it is you do, and you have a good time. It's like we're so busy trying to please other people that we forget about. We got to be the most important person. And when we're talking about making sure that you're okay, making sure that you're all right, and that I always said this, they told me I had a bad attitude, I was arrogant, I thought very highly of myself. And that's one of them psych tests I take. Have to take. I had one just the other day, and it was like they gave me one of those cognitive tests, and I was and they use them a lot with older people or to check your cognitive your cognitive ability. What can you remember? Can you name this many things? And I was sitting and I told y'all I ain't got but 8 brain cells left. And let me tell you, girlfriend was on it. She tried to take 2.5, and I'm like, I got that 2.5 to fill that up. And it's really something when you don't take care of yourself. Listen, we are not gonna live forever. You're gonna die from something. Something's gonna jump out the bushes and grab you. So why not have as much fun, leave it as much positive energy as you can when you do leave the planet. And we all gonna go. All living things die. Some living things rejuvenate. People say, when I die, I want to come back as a tree. When I die, I want to come back as whatever the universe thinks I should be at that time. And so when we don't take care of ourselves, when we start depending so much on technology, I used to be the family telephone book, speller, trivia person. When they couldn't get to our mom, they called me. They said, okay, well, we need to know how to do thus and so. And this carried me. And how do you spell? One of my cousins, one of my favorite cousins, God rest her soul, I miss her all the time. She would call me up 3,000 miles and ask me how to spell a word. And I would spell it, or how to spell, how to make a recipe. And this was a lot before, like, the computers came on. So then when the computers came on, everybody had a personal computer on their desk. She still called me. She told me her brother bought one. She said, I'm not plugging that thing up, girl. I think Satan is in there. I'm like, I would pre-venture to say there's going to be some satanic people that can come in and, see what kind of destruction they could cause with this instant. And that's what I look at, like instant gratification. And if you don't even get it then, when you need to be gratified, it'll come down there to you somewhere. This is what we're thinking. And we're working on positive energy, positive forces. It's enough toxicity out here where we don't need to be the ones with the bellows fanning the flames and saying how much smoke and damage we can bring. We can be the ones that calm it down. We can be the ones that say, oh, let's take a breath. Let's really see what we're doing. Let's see where we're going. Let's assess the situation and what we're going to do about this as we go along and as we grow along. I mean, you think about it. It's like every day, almost every moment, something is changing on the internet. Something is growing. Something is being added to. Something is being taken away. We don't even have, well, do we even really know what would be the proper rules to have online? And we're seeing them and working to get different kind of laws, to work on the internet. One of the ones I know, and I still say we're not moving fast enough. The smart geniuses, that would be you all, that can out. I told you, I got 8. I don't know how many you all are proclaiming to have. I got 8 good brain cells left, and we're depending on you to show us, to guide us, to direct us. And we also depend on you to understand and respect the knowledge that the elders bring to the table. I wish I was I always say, when I go into meetings and, we have these presentations, my thing is, I want to be the dumbest one in the room. I want to be that. So that means I am going to surround myself with people who are more knowledgeable than I am, who are more astute than I am, who are keeping up with the cutting edge of the industry. And I want to learn from them. And we need to start learning from one another. I think one of the biggest problems with us as a nation built on immigration, all of us came from somewhere. All of us we're not here. The Native Americans were here. That's when they trip me up when they say, well, Columbus discovered America. How are you going to discover something that's already been there? Shut up, Mother Love. That's a whole nother story. And nonetheless, they're still standing. We're still standing. On the utmost of conditions, we are still standing. And I heard some crazy politician say the other day, well, that's what we should have did with slavery and bondage because they got a life skill. So your life skill is stealing and pilfering and murder and destruction. Okay, I'm just asking. Since you want to tell us how to live and what we should live like and how we should be, and the fact that we got to jot that down. And here we go. And how far are we going to go with this? What are we going to need to do? So this is okay. And so this is what we need to do to keep ourselves together. And yeah, y'all, I'm just going to say it. Our stuff is raggedy. It's tore up from the floor up. And I would have to start with men because God made men first. And you know what? I love y'all dearly. I live with a man. I'm married to a man. I got a man child and boy child grandchildren and uncles and cousins. And we love each and every one of you. We really do. We love you in a different way. Everybody, I wouldn't love another human being on the planet like I love my husband. And today, I really love him. Tomorrow could be a different story. I'm just saying. You never know. And that's what we don't do. We don't want to live in today. We don't want to learn from our mistakes from yesterday because a lot of us don't even want to admit that we made a mistake. I've done nothing wrong. It's not my fault. Everybody hates me. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Okay. So, hey, baby, wait a minute. Okay, I was all in the middle of one of my mother's. Hey, handsome, hot the mic. I know you. I said,
hi there.
I should be over here talking to Marcelo. This handsome fella is Marcelo Bucater. Say it for me so I don't mess it up.
Bucater.
Bucater. So
there we go.
Welcome to the program. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Besides looking good, let me tell the chicks right off the rip. No. He is married with a 2.5-year-old. Back in something, I was saying, oh my God, can you give me his phone number? Is he single? Do he like girls? Does he like I'm like, do I look like the matchmaker? No. So I have to preface that. So welcome to the program.
Thank you.
That's from Brazil, from Sao Paulo. Did I say it right?
That's right.
Brazil. I got my passport. I keep it up.
Let's go.
And I've always wanted to go to Brazil. I mean, I want to be there in the mix. So, first of all, tell me about your life in Brazil. What was it like for you at 11 years old?
Wow. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, Mother Love. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are very welcome.
Yeah. So I actually grew up in the countryside of São Paulo, in a small town called São José do Rio Preto.
What did you say it was called? São José?
Yeah, São José
pretty word.
do Rio Preto.
Look, we got the color theme together. Look, I wore black and white. You got on black and white. He got the memo. People, do you see that in the memo? Okay.
See, so, I read the emails. Come on.
It's not that difficult. I think. Okay, so now you're a little boy growing up and you're running around like a wild child.
Yeah, and it was a very hot environment because that city in particular is like California or maybe Miami, more like Miami.
With like the humidity.
Summer with the humidity, exactly. But I have wonderful memories, like from that city and about the tranquility in growing up there. I remember like being a happy child, with my parents, my brother, and so on. I moved to the capital, to São Paulo, the capital of the state, when I was 17 to study music.
So this has always been in your blood, music. Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's a great question because actually none of my parents are like close relatives or musicians at all.
So you was the freak in the family coming in and saying, I want to be a musician. They're like, hey, boy, if you don't go somewhere and get you a real job, what is wrong with you? You can't make a living at that. Who dropped him on his head? He told me he want to be a musician. So
were you there? Were you part of the discussions? Because it sounds like you were there. I'm kidding.
No. Oh, I get it. They told me I was out of. Well, my mother, she always said, you shouldn't even be. I went to school to be. You'll never guess. I'll tell you. I went to college to become a mortician.
Wow.
And, hey, they're gonna be dropping dead. Somebody gonna make a living off of it. Hey, and they'll be just dying to see me, so to be with me. So I'm cool with that. And
Yeah.
so, and I was like the cut up in the biology class. Even the biology instructor said, "Okay, this is not your platform." Because I was cracking up everybody. And when you go to college and you're in them big lecture halls, right? They're
Yeah.
like sitting ducks. So I would get up and I always sit in the front. And I get up and by the time the teacher got in there, he was like, "Oh, yeah, everybody come down. Everybody come down there. We don't want to learn from you. We want to hear from her." So they technically, to me, I couldn't do that. And so I know. And I said, I'm going to go into show business. No, I never said that. I did not. I drove a school bus and I was talking at somebody at some event and it was like, "You need to be on the radio." And I'm like, "And you need to call your drug dealer and tell him to slip me something on the side because you really on drugs talking to me." Shut up. So now it's all about you. So that's my story and I stick to it. So then when do you know that you knew that this was your innate ability?
Yeah, the interesting part of it is that I was joking about, but I actually was very, very lucky because both my parents actually supported me since day one.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, "All right, if that's what you really want to do, as long as you do it right and you're serious about, go for it." I remember the only thing they asked me was like to finish the high school, and I thank God that they asked me to finish that because I knew it when I was like 10. That's when I knew it. I want to be a drummer, and I told them since the first day I hit the drums, I was like, "Oh, great, that's what I want to do. I just learned it, fantastic." And they're like, "Sure, yeah, like in a couple months he's gonna be like doing something else and tell me that's what I, you know." But it never changed. It actually never changed. It was always that since the day I hit the drums and I played the drums for the first time. But I finished the high school and then I moved to Sao Paulo because I knew I wanted to be a drummer. I was like, I don't need to study biology. I don't need to study whatever, math, anything. I just need to study music.
What?
But that was the only argument I can say that we had about it because my
See,
mom specifically, she was very on top of it. She's like, "No, you're gonna finish your high school and then we talk." And thankfully I did, so I could actually go to Sao Paulo and study in an actual music college and learn a lot from that. But that's
see,
how it started, you know.
your parents were smart and they
Yeah,
gave you the fact that they were supportive of you. It takes that's a really big step. And I believe that's one of the biggest steps. Besides having faith and confidence in yourself and in your
hmm
ability and being willing to learn and grow. And so to tell you, okay, now you got to do this and we got you back 100%. So I understand so what you gonna do? How you gonna pay your rent? You kind
yeah,
of high maintenance girl. You spend $100 on makeup. I was like, I worked since I was 14. And so I
yeah.
understand
That's
about
it.
you know. And so when you get what was it like the first time you hit the cymbals, you hit that bass drum, you let your foot tap?
Yeah,
Well,
that was when I
I
was.
think drummers, well, I shouldn't say I think. I know drummers are very, very talented. Pianists, all the
Uh,
percussion instruments, all of them. And the fact, and see, you call yourself a drummer, you're really a percussionist because you don't just play one thing.
yeah, that's
I
right.
know like this many much about music, and you talking about, "Well, I'm just a drummer." No, you are not a just anything. Don't
Yeah,
you ever say that
that's.
again? Don't make me come over your house.
Although you can come anytime, let's have a
Oh, see,
lunch
you
or
see what?
dinner.
Look, and I ain't cooking. Yes, I will. You
Huh?
come over my house to cook. But nonetheless, what was that like when you first hit that and you knew this was it?
It was, and it's cliche, but it was magical. I remember the day. It was July 1st, 2001, and that's it, you know, because it was, as I said, it was like I play it, and I was like, it was almost the puzzle, you know, like the last piece that I was missing there, and I was like, wow, I think that's what I want to do. I always wanted to do that. I just didn't know. Now I
Mm,
do. At first, so just going back a little bit, I started playing the piano and singing at the church,
mm,
right? When I was about maybe 7 or 8.
mm,
And my mom enrolled me to piano classes. But the thing is, in the importance of having a good teacher, right? I'm a teacher as well right now. I know how important that is. So the teacher that I had at the time, even though he was a great player, I don't think he really understood what I was looking for,
mm,
and he never made it fun for me. So it was always like his way or no way. And somehow I lost completely the attraction that I maybe had at the time for the piano.
See, to me,
And
that sounds like a learning lesson for you because
absolutely,
everybody's not going to be for you. And to be able to deal with that, I won't say it's, that rejection. My thing is like they just didn't get it. And
yeah.
sometimes when they see somebody who is, and you probably can attest to this, when they see that coming behind them as somebody who is better, is smarter, has learned more, then they feel intimidated. Okay, but
Mhm.
I thought that was the whole purpose of doing this, so they can't stand on your shoulder. That wasn't up. What the kids said, they was just haterating. Don't even
Yeah.
think it's the word hater race, whatever it is, haters. And say, oh, and who does this young guy think he is? And you pay your dues. You pay your dues. So when you played your first concert or your first piece where you were like actually out there and they introduced you, and that's a whole nother kind of magical adrenaline running through you. Were you frightened? Did you have stage fright?
You know, I don't think I had stage fright, although I was obviously nervous. But as you mentioned, I also started working really young because I started teaching
Mm-hmm.
at 15. So I was taking drum lessons,
Mm-hmm.
and my drum teacher had to go on tour, and he asked me to actually sub for him. Now you imagine a 15-year-old teaching all kinds of people, from kids that were younger than me and actual adults that were like maybe whatever 40, 50, 60. So a lot of time that was also another learning experience, because a lot of times they would show up and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I actually have a drum lesson here. I'm like, I know, I'm the teacher, you know.
They're looking at you, yeah, okay, okay.
And they're
But
like, you're not, you know. And then
that says a
had
lot
to
about you
I
and your
had to prove
talent
myself.
and the fact that the instructor trusted you enough and in your ability to not
Yeah.
just do it, to teach it. And they say, when you're doing a thing, going through life, when you can't do, you teach. You are like the golden guy because you're doing it and you have the privilege of teaching. Because teaching, you could take that little mouse and mold it and know you can tell. You have that instinct for it. So when you
Yeah.
saw did you, after your first class and the kids were like, oh, he was pretty cool. Did you go in the bathroom and go, shush, I got this. You trust me. Okay, that
Yeah,
would have been my.
absolutely. But I always had, on that matter, I always had to prove myself,
Mhm.
especially for the adults. You know, they would show up and like, you're not the teacher. I'm like, okay, let's go. Can you play this? And they couldn't, you know, and I would go and like, all right, here it is. And it was never the point of like showing off, like, hey, look what I can do. But it was more like, all right, I guess I have to gain the respect. And unfortunately, that's the way it is right now. So let's go. And a lot of times, 5 minutes later would be great. And they're like, oh, okay, cool, go ahead, you know. And I'm not saying I did anything fancy or so, but if you're like a beginner and you get someone that knows a little more than you just
Mhm.
showed that, and it sounds like $1 million, right? And funny enough, it kind of happened the same way when I started teaching at college, right? Late now I'm moving forward and moving where I teach here in Pasadena, Los Angeles, Pasadena, California, right?
We're neighbors.
um,
I could come to your house. You can
there
come
we
to.
go. I saw the 626 number. I was like, Mother Love is
I didn't
local.
want to say nothing because I don't want you and your wife to think I'm a stalker or anything.
Oh, it's all good. But it was, you know, very similar because I started teaching there when I was 27. So a lot of times I would be teaching kids, like not kids, but whatever,
And from seven
teenagers
years old.
that were like 19, 20, 21. They would look at me like, you could be my classmate, you know? So I always had that moment of like, okay, let's play, let's
Mhm.
talk, you know. And it was never a thing about, as I said before, ego or like trying to show off. But I also really appreciate the fact that after a couple minutes, the respect always show up, you know. And I was able to actually nurture like really good relationships that I have to this day, you know, with the students. And I always say, when you're teaching, it's always a back and forth
Mhm.
situation,
Let
right?
me ask you this.
It's never
Is
like I'm teaching you, you know.
okay,
It's
but
always like,
I want to ask: is teaching your strongest sense? Do you see yourself continuing to teach? And I mean, because you just started your own quartet. That's four people, y'all. I got it. I remember my musical notes. Now, can you read music? Do you read music? And do you
absolutely.
compose?
Yes, 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 yes. Teaching is part of who I am. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the main thing. It complements me. And as I said, I love doing that because I think I learn a lot of times more than the students are learning from me. I think it's mutual. And I use those experiences in real life, let's put
Mhm.
it that way, as you just mentioned, as a composer, as a
Mhm.
musician, as whatever, a band leader. Um, so yeah, I compose music, I write, I read music. A lot of um, gigs that I do as a sideman as well are sight reading kind of situations where they call me and I show up, they give me the drum book and I gotta read,
And
right?
let you do your thing.
Yes, that
So,
happens often. But I'm really excited about this new project that after so many years playing as a sideman and accompanying artists and different musicians and so on.
who have you played with?
Well, I played for a couple of people already.
And
One of
you consider yourself a jazz musician, or do you consider
um,
yourself an overall musician where you're not
I
beholden
think
to any genre?
yeah, Mother Love, I'm a person that do not like labels that much, if that makes
We
sense.
was gonna be, we was gonna be.
I do not like being put in a box. And I don't think that's necessary, for a lot of situations. Maybe for a couple of things, yes, I get it. But
Don't
generally,
compromise, baby. Don't compromise because they figure if you do one or two, you'll do three, four, five, six, seven. Don't compromise.
yeah. So I don't call myself A, B, or C. I
Mm.
think music, you can have good music in all kind of styles and genres, and I enjoy playing good music, right?
See, okay,
Um,
wait a minute. See, now, see, you started with the good music because, like I said, I'm a baby. Oh, well, I was talking to the artist. I'm a baby boomer. So, and the music was just absolutely magnificent. I also love classical music. People said I was crazy. I also love country music. I was the only woman of color that was in the audience because I went with Charlie Pride, the late great Charlie Pride, and his wife. We were took to one of his concerts, and it was like, shouldn't you be on stage? I'm like, what you act like I can't play black me? Oh, you're going with that black thing again. And I keep telling, I'm not black. I am. Do you see this? What color is my shirt?
Black and white, right?
Okay, now what color is my skin?
In
Brown.
America, they say black, right? But
No, it's
I
brown.
would say brown.
You could distinguish. That's the problem. You could distinguish the color of this and the color of this right here.
That's right.
So, and I don't tolerate people calling me black. I'm burnt sienna. Don't get it twisted.
There
Don't
we
get
go.
it twisted.
There we go.
We are all people of color.
That's
They
right.
crack me up with that. I'm like, can you get your mind out of stupid town? And so, for me to love music is to love all of it. You don't have to like it all. I hate the gangster rap. I'm like, what you so mad about?
Right.
You don't get a house note, you're not paying government taxes, you living in your mama basement. What are you upset about? And I told them to their face, I do not like it. Y'all smarter than that. And
But
so,
see, that's one of the things I totally agree with you, and that's one of the things I love about Los Angeles is that
mhm.
it gives you the possibility because you have people from all over the globe, all over the planet here. So I say that quite often that in the same week, a lot of times I have the chance to play a Brazilian gig, a jazz gig, a Persian gig, a rock gig, and it's fantastic. Now, why do I have to put myself in just one box, right? But with that being said, yes, I love playing drum set, I love playing the percussion, and I love playing with people that are out there playing music that is relevant to them, right? That it means something. Um, I started my own quartet, which again, sometimes I get that question. Thank you. I get that question of like, so what is the quartet about? I guess if people need to put in a label in a box
Mhm.
or whatever that might be, sure, we can put in that category of jazz music. Although it has the influences that I just mentioned, right? Because that's my background.
Oh, I lost audio on you.
That's
Oh, there you go. I lost the audio.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I think I lost. Maybe I have to change this. Let's see if this is gonna work.
I'm not mad at
Seems
you,
like the
baby.
battery just went out on that one.
Yeah, that's all right. We got you back. That's okay. So now, when you
Hello, hello, hello.
Can you hear
Mama,
me?
I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear me now? Can't hear me? They told me don't touch the buttons. I can't hear you anymore either. Can you hear me? Okay, put a ear, put a microphone on this. I mean, a headphone on this one and the earbud.
Now, all right.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Now
Are we
we
back?
came back. Great.
Oh, are we
Now we
back
came back.
together?
I think so. Can you hear me
Okay.
okay?
You just can't kick mother love off. You know that just be Satan trying to stop our blessing. They better just go on
There we
somewhere.
go. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what
No,
happened
no,
there.
no, not at all. This look, this is your show. You get to do what the heck you want to, and that
Thank you.
even if you cuss, you can cuss. But I got a big giant $5 cuss word jar over here.
Uh-oh.
It's almost look. One guy had me feeling. I'm like, do you really need to use all that foul language? And I have a potty mouth. I I could cuss you from an amazing grace to a floating opportunity, and you won't even know you've been cussed out.
There we go.
I might use all them cuss words. So we're back to the quartet.
Yeah, I just wanted to finish
And
that
why just
train of
you
thought.
and three other people?
Yeah, so just to conclude, like finish that story. So
Yeah.
I guess you can consider the quartet a jazz quartet. But as I was saying, there are a bunch of influences. There are songs that are Brazilian influence. There are songs that heavily jazz influence. That's, I would say, probably the music that I love the most, jazz music. That's why I moved to the United States to pursue the music career
Mhm.
and so on, because I always love jazz. I think that it's an art form that really allows you to express yourself, right? And as an artist and as a creative artist, which that's one thing I consider to be. I always try to be creative
Oh, don't take up. Stop right there.
in my
We
lifestyle.
we don't do try, maybe, if, hopefully. No, you do the doggone thing. You're
There
not
we
trying
go.
to do anything. You are doing this. You
Yeah,
know, don't ever diminish your star. Don't ever let anybody take your light from your star. This is what you do. This is what you were supposed to do.
yeah.
See, now do you? They
And
say
that's
when you
why the
do
quartet
love,
was that was
it's,
the reason the quartet was created was
mm,
literally because of that, because that voice as an artist, a primary artist, right, not
mm,
necessarily playing for other people, which I love to do, was getting louder and louder inside of me,
mm,
especially after the pandemic. So I always had songs there
mm,
that I wrote but I never really look at it, right, they were there. And during the pandemic, that was a call. I was like, I gotta do this. I really gotta do this. So it was a easy task in a way, because I just had to put together, well, a lot of songs that I already had, and then during the process, again, the creative process, you put your mind there. A lot of things came like right away, and I was fortunate to ask really good friends and amazing musicians that I met at college.
mm,
So we know each other for a while now, and I play with those guys. It's a band. I
mm,
don't, even though I admire a lot of other musicians, of course, I chose those guys for a reason, because I knew their voice as a
mm,
musician and as an
mm,
artist, and I had a vision that everybody would contribute to the sound of the quartet and the sound that I wanted to have for those songs to be out there. So the album is called After the Storm, which is the song title
mm.
of the CD, and it's literally, not that I think that we pass the pandemic in a way. There's always like scars for everybody that went through
Oh,
that period,
mm, mm.
but I think there's hope. So the song is
Hey.
about that. The song is about that. It starts as a chaotic moment where everybody plays together, it's like rah, and it sounds like a storm in my head. And it's actually good because we had the chance to play the songs live a fair amount of times already, and I always get that reaction from people when I explain and I just announce the songs.
Mhm.
They People come to me after the show and like, it makes total sense. I actually can see or hear or both, understand what you were thinking. So that's the song that titles the whole album, the vinyl, which we have it now.
I
And
told you it was coming back. People don't
yeah,
listen to me. You know, I
yeah,
give them really good ideas and they don't want to give me credit. And
yeah.
personally, I really don't care about getting credit for it. I do what I do because this is what I'm supposed to do. And, and we know, and a lot of people are so afraid of, living their purpose because it looks too big. Well, isn't that the point of living your purpose? Because it's too big and you can't do it by yourself. People get on oh, I'm a self-made. Shut up. You ain't a self-made nothing. Your mom and daddy self-made you. So back yourself up. You're gonna need and get help from other people. And the fact that you are willing to open up your musical prowess to other people, that says a lot about you as a person and as a musician. Because it doesn't seem like you make it about you.
I don't see it that way. I don't. I think it's way more powerful and bigger than myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that to sound cliche, but that's how I always saw music. To me, music is an entity that I respect, admire, and I live by. I really need that. I need, and that's why I said it was a strong call that I got during the pandemic.
Oh yeah, they be calling all of us out. Listen, you found out a lot of people found out they ain't like their kids. A lot of kids found out they ain't like their parents. They just seem like they turned on each other all at once, and because of this pandemic, and it made it so heavy on all of us. I don't know anybody in America who has not been touched with COVID-19 or whatever they're calling it now. And and I have a delicate constitution, so I couldn't be around people at all. And it was, I gotta tell you, it was hell to tell the captain, because I didn't know what to do. I got still, and God went, okay, now that I got your attention again, Missy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you hear it loud and clear. You can't be talking to me. They're not talking about me. The energy, the universe isn't saying, oh, well, Marcelo, you've got to go out there and do it. And when you heard it, did it scare you when you heard it and said, nah, okay, what about all this stuff you got written on the shelf?
Yeah, I agree with you. So that's why every single song, so I have 7 songs that are actually on the vinyl. We recorded a total of 8 songs. So there's a bonus track that you can find on all the digital platforms. Actually, I'm releasing the 3rd single of the album this Friday, the 12th. Yeah.
So are we getting like the first talk about the song being
Absolutely.
What's the name of it?
So this song I wrote to my dad. So as I said, every single song is very special to me, has a story. It's not just like, oh, whatever. This song is called Mecca. For two reasons. So first, my dad last name is Cacchia. So his family side is Italian. It's hard, trust me. Yes.
Say his last name again.
Cacchia.
Oh, my tongue ain't even gonna work over
I know. So in Brazil, they made a short version of it because people had a hard time saying that as well. Trust me. So it became Keka, Keka.
Keka. Now, see, I can pronounce that.
There we go. So, and moqueca as well is a famous and traditional dish in Brazil that is delicious, right? Imagine like seafood with like a little, not a soup necessarily, but it's traditional in the north and northeast of Brazil, and it's just delicious. So I was at a friend's house one night, and his wife was actually making that dish, moqueca. It spells a little different than my dad's last name, but it sounds similar. And we wrote the song together, him and me, like out of the blue. We like started singing, like, "Oh man, this is a song!" Wow, we wrote, okay. And then I was like, I can make a little funny thing right there, and it also like this to my dad's family. So muqueca, so it's for the dish and for the family. As I said, it's going to be released this Friday, so in 2 days. That's the 3rd single that's going to be out. I already released After the Storm.
I want to hear about the story that you wrote for your grandmother.
Yeah, that's a very, very, very special one. So the first single was After the Storm. Then a month later was Alba, which is the 2nd single and is the one you just mentioned. Alba is the name of my grandma, and she just turned 97 years old.
Well, please kiss her on the face for me and tell her that we love her to pieces.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And I get emotional every time I talk about her. But the thing is,
she's a very waterhead.
She's a very, very she's a very, very special human being in general. Not only for me, but for a lot of people. Mother of six, mom, like by herself. She raised everybody by herself because my grandpa left, unfortunately. Um,
Oh, look at what he missed. Let's have a moment. Moments
yeah,
of here.
exactly. And she living in São Paulo. As I said, I grew up in the countryside. And every time we would go visit her, I always felt a very strong connection with her. Like that I couldn't explain. It was just one of those things. And I'm talking about a family of 30 plus with all the grandkids and so you can imagine. Um, and I think she always felt that as well. And I always told her, I eventually gonna leave with you. I want to be here with you. And when I moved to study music at college in São Paulo, I actually moved to her house. So she was 82, I think, when I got there, and trust me, doing all kinds of things. She didn't need help at all. She could do whatever she wanted to. I remember the first day, like something dropped on the floor. I think it was a banana or something. I went running to get for her. She looked at me. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Getting it for you." She's like, "Get out! I can do that by myself." And I'm like,
Okay.
"All
Thank you
right."
very much. They think you get to be a certain age and you can't do anything, for yourself. And I'm like, dude, I can do this. It's all right. I'm not an invalid. I might be a seasoned citizen, but I
And
can
yep,
still function. I found out from my grandchildren. See, your mother's one of the old people. She's not an
no,
old people.
she's
So
tough and
so
sweet
asking
at the
my
same
grandchildren, I
time.
said, what does old and old men? The grandkids said, well, old people are the one where their voice change, you can't hardly
Uh,
hear, and they talk real loud at the TV. Turn the heat on, it's too hot. Turn the cold on, and they move real soft. I said, so what are old people like you and Papa? Y'all, we don't know where y'all gonna be. We have to call and ask, are you on this time zone? Are you on this part of the earth? This, that, and third. You always have people over. People always want to come over to your house. It's always full of fun. Now,
yeah.
you just open it. They love to call me. Oh, I'm like, you better hope you get
But
happy.
she's exactly like she can be as tough as you can think of without saying a word, and she can
Oh,
be
oh,
the
oh,
sweetest person
she got
you
the
can ever
grandma look.
imagine. You
She
know,
they
and
believe
and
that's
just so you can have a better picture, she might be 4 or 5. So
right. See, them the ones that scared of bejesus out of you. Watch the little ones because they get you down low. And you like, why is my face on the floor? And
but
she's
the
like,
sweet,
oh,
yeah,
baby, did you tumble? Did you?
but the sweetest person ever. And I cherish those moments with her every day because I think I learned so much from her, and it was always great. As I said with the drums, I always had those feelings of in my life of natural things that needed to happen, and when it
Mhm,
happened, it felt like, man, this is exactly what I was missing.
mhm,
Playing the drums was one of those. Being with my grandma was one of those. When I had the chance to be with her on a daily basis, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's
Now,
what I
what's
was
the
missing.
time difference? Can you FaceTime with her?
Right now, I have about 4 or 5 hours, but yes, we FaceTime. When I released the song, we talk, and she cried. I was like, I'm gonna cry too. But the song, has her name on it, Alba, and I think for the listener, it gives you the picture of who she is
Mm-hmm,
because it starts in a very, very mellow way.
mm-hmm,
And I think to me, again, I always have that the visual aspect is very strong in my mind. I have
mm-hmm,
that image, and it starts very mellow, but it's mysterious in a way. You don't know what's coming next. And I think it gets to a point that you're not necessarily expecting at the beginning of the track, but it
mm-hmm,
gets to a point that to me sounds very much church influence, right? So
mm-hmm,
you can hear talking about the boxes,
mm-hmm.
right? There is the gospel element there, but also like all the strength that she had and she has in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow it ends mellow again. So it shows like she can go anywhere, you know what I mean? And the track can go anywhere too. So that's why I always like to tell the story 2 ways, musically and like also describing it. Because maybe for whoever is listening to, it makes sense and you can go on that little trip with me, and we
And
can
I love
travel
that part.
together.
And the
Yeah.
fact that you do you are a jazz musician, and the fact that you can go pretty much with any genre, and And I want to personally, as a jazz lover, to say thank you for making sure this genre of music lives on. It is too valuable. It is too important for us as a society to close off any kind of genre. Well, maybe that gangster rap. I don't know about all that. They confuse me. And I think I tell people this all. I wish I knew what they were saying. And then when I hear what they're saying, I'm like, yeah, what y'all gonna do when y'all 50 and you listen to this and your grandkids running behind and calling you all kind of names? Well, I heard it in a song. I heard it on. I'm like, see, our music and jazz, our music, you could play it. It's like such a lifeline for us. What they call it, the soundtrack of our lives. Now, who was some of your favorite jazz musicians?
That's great. I can say that the first two jazz. So the first time I heard jazz, and that to me was also like a life experience, like everything changing my life. It was when I went to college. So it's kind of late in the game, like whatever that might be. But I, yeah, I heard Louis Armstrong for the first time, and that blew my mind
The
because
great.
there was so much being said with like two notes that I remember sitting down and like, what's happening here? And I had to listen to that track again and again and again and again and again. And when he started singing, it was like it blew my mind. And from there, it was like I just opened the door. And I always say that there's this element of it's a concept that I have for everything in my life, which is I love questions.
Mhm.
Because every time I see a question or I find a question or I encounter myself with a question, that means that I'm going to keep digging and I'm going to find answers eventually. It might take me a second, a minute, a day, or 3 years,
But
but I'm going to
you'll
find,
get
and the moment I find answers, I'll find more questions and I'll keep going. So that
see,
opened
for a man,
that.
they call you, a guy who's, asking good questions to get good answers. When women have asked good questions, and especially when they can't answer the question, and I don't know what the answer is, I'm asking them because I'm assuming that they know what they're talking about. And I've been called everything. They told me I was arrogant, and I thought very highly of myself, and I'm like, okay, well, if I don't, how somebody else gonna? No, you have to be true to your core. You have to be able to first look you in the face
Yeah.
and be all right with that. And then you look your wife in the face, and you look your children and your grandparents and all the people that are around you. You look them in the face, and when they look back at you and they can see you, you know you're gonna be all right. But when you're looking in the mirror first and you don't like what you see, you still have a problem. You
Yeah.
got, to thine own self be true. And did you ever feel like in your career, like, that you had to compromise or sacrifice pieces of yourself to get to where you want to go?
A few times. A few times, yes. And I just eventually want to go back and give you a better answer about more influences that I had because they were super important. But yes, answering that question a few times, and it never feels great, but I really come back home and I understand why I'm doing that and finding a purpose, even
Mm-hmm.
though that purpose is not necessarily the best and it makes sense right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, sometimes a gig is just a gig that you need to do it to come on, let's not be so romantic about it, that you need to pay rent, and that's
Right.
fine. And I rather not trying to diminish any other profession or job, but I rather do that and play drums at the end of the day than do something else. So if
Right.
that's what I need to do, I still, and it's needed at that point, sure. But am I going to lie to you that sometimes it feels like a 9 to 5? No, but not always. And that's the good thing about it. I feel that as my career goes on, those moments get, less and less, which is
And
great.
I found out, when, especially being a creative person, people will always find a reason to nitpick at you. Well, who does he think he is? And I tell them, I know who I am. You got a problem with you not knowing who you are. So don't be coming over here bringing that garbage with me. I told them I'm allergic to BS. And see, when you know who you are in your heart and your soul and the kind of person you are with other people, you can't fake that. You can't fake that. You can't pretend it. You can't make it up. People will see the light in you.
That's
Now,
it.
you,
That's it. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think it always work. but 9 out of 10, for me at least, I think it does. If not 10 out of 10, if I find myself in a situation like that, that is not necessarily at first, when you stop and think about it, the one I want it to be,
Mhm.
I think I have a choice of being frustrated and feel miserable about it, which is not going to give me anything good, or like, how and what can I do to make this a little better and
Mhm.
learn from it. So I set up challenges for myself as I'm playing it that are not going to, and it's not about me again, but that I understand as a professional that is not going to compromise whatever I'm doing. But I set up something, so I'm learning and I'm expanding, so it
Every
doesn't feel like just oh, whatever, I just got to do this 9 to 5. Boom.
how has how have you grown from being this kid who at 15 who's teaching other musicians who are younger than you and older than you, and you get to this point in your life? What changed about you? How did you grow?
Wow. You know what you're doing, huh? You ask the right questions. Come on.
I got time for this because you're giving us something that we haven't seen. We have never. You're the first time I ever met Marcelo, and
Yeah.
it's a pleasantry. And I love being around creative people who don't get too full of themselves. I don't know why people take life serious. You're not coming out of it alive. You're not coming out of it alive.
You know,
Make that dash
yeah,
count.
I think answering that question, because I'm thinking about that right
Mm,
now. There is an element that was always there
mm,
since I was 10, which is that um, loving questions, and loving being exposed to that. Like,
mm,
I don't know what this is. Great. Awesome. What is it? Now let's find out. I really
mhm.
like that. When I find something I don't know, it's like, man, I know it's not going to stop right here at the end of this page. I
Oh,
gonna, it's like fantastic. I have now things to look for 6 months. So I think that that was always there. I
mm,
was always questioning things. Um, I think what changed the most is that the fact that it's tricky because it's. I always say that when I play,
mm.
there is the good element. I feel that's the moment I feel most vulnerable and almost no makeup, naked. That's it. Right. But here it goes. It's a back and forth. The same time that you're allowing people to know you, you're also you're inviting them to. And you're not always getting good things, right?
Mm,
Sometimes you get some weird stuff. But the fact that I always was like that, like open and
mhm,
vulnerable to the new things and to the unknown. I think being lucky of people that was around me, and
mhm.
that kind of people like showing me the path and like, hey, I think this kid is serious about it. I think you should find this person and talk to them.
Mhm.
And thankfully, that that road was always filled with like great mentors, if makes any sense.
It
And
makes
I
a
think
lot of sense. The
and
kids would
that
call
helped me a
you
lot.
the
So
kids would call you a unicorn. That's what the kids would call you a unicorn because
yeah,
you're really a magical person. When you go out on stage and as a live performer, what is your process? Do you bring all of the stuff with you, and do you leave it all on the drums or the cymbals someplace? What's your process like for that? Because people have a lot. I got a ritual, before I would go out on stage, and as I was changing, my genres, I did different things, and I wanted to know how do you come on stage? Do you come on empty and just let the energy fill you all up from your toenails to your head?
I wish I had a better answer, but I just try. I don't try anything. I just go and I don't think about anything as much as I can.
Mm,
And I think I got really better at that. And see, that's one of the things again. I think I was already good at it
mhm.
before the pandemic, but after the pandemic, it's a matter of like I don't worry about it anymore. I
What's
care. I
right?
care a lot. And again, I respect what I'm doing a lot because I know it's a gift.
It,
and I work really hard for it, but it's a gift to be able to do that every day.
I,
And I don't take that for granted. But when I
listen,
go
baby.
there and I play,
Yes, let me just
it's
say
all
this.
about like I don't know what's I love not knowing what's gonna happen.
See that? See, you like adventures. Let's get us and you're nosy. See, when a guy says that, he's inquisitive. When a woman says that, she being nosy. And I don't have any problem with people calling me nosy because I want to know. It's the reason why I'm nosy, because I want to know. And I work to learn one new word a day. And I have gone through the English language, and it's about 11,000 of them we don't even need because it's just stupid and redundant. Let's make up some new words or whatever. So I want to talk with you a bit about your teaching young people and putting down your footprints and building your legacy. What do you want the young people to learn from you as a teacher? Oh, he got one. Oh, that, you know what? You waited too long. That means you got to come back and tell me this will not be our first
No,
conversation.
because that's so. Again, I think that's so important and serious. I do think about that. How it's as the mentors that I had were so important to me,
Mm-hmm.
and what they said through my career impact me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an experience when I started. I told you, with the piano teacher that was quite the opposite. So I try to be really careful about that. But at this point, the legacy, if I can say this, it's about finding or helping finding who they are and their voice as an artist. Because that to me, it was like finding freedom in a way. When I understood that I could care but not worry about it,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling comfortable with the uncomfortable. And those are all like cliches and whatever, but I love that. I love being on the edge and feeling comfortable about it. There is nothing to fear. Just go.
You know
You
what
know,
fear stands for?
and what how are you gonna react to
Right.
that? The
You know
one
what
of
fear stands for?
what is it?
Fear,
Uh-huh.
false evidence appearing real.
I'll start using that. That's awesome.
I mean, what you being fearful of? You know, and
Yeah.
the people that trip me out with they phony church like ways. You know, they want to sit up and help God along. He don't need your help, you bobo head. The ones in prison. Well, I found God in the penitentiary. God wasn't lost in no penitentiary. You
Mm-hmm.
was lost in the grocery store, the penitentiary. Know what the truth is for you. You know, and don't all the time sitting up it's being hypocritical about it. And pray for people because we need peace, we need calm. And because when you come out on the stage and you're doing your thing and you're in the studio and you're writing, what do you do for you? What is your respite care like?
Yeah. Let me get back to you in that answer in one
Oh yeah,
second.
you go. Okay, I'm ready.
Because I think what inspires me the most is when I see the reaction from either the students or from the audience, or after a conversation like we are having here, like any situation that I'm sharing time with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the word, sharing, because we're sharing. It's not, again, it's feeling that somehow that other person or the other half is inspired
Mm-hmm.
by anything that just happened in our conversation, you know. And that happens, those moments when you're playing and you see someone like from the audience like, yeah, that's it, like I just opened a new door there. So that's worth like $1 million. Or when you're teaching and you see, or bringing back to my daughter 2.5, when I tell her something, or it's a brand new hard drive, you know, and you see that moment of like, wow, I never saw a pink flower before. That's what a pink flower looks like. So that look, when you can get that look from anybody else, I think that's it. That's
That's
like
the
I
purity
made
of
my
it.
day. It's I
Well,
don't care.
tell people how they can get to you and when you are you going to tour pretty soon?
Yeah, so we gonna have an album release show coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm just talking to the venue right now to set up the day. But any information that anybody want to know about me and about what I do, whatever, they can find on my website. So you can see my name down here with all the tags, and so is marcelobucater.com. And the
It
next
has
shows are always there. Everything's there.
don't forget to put my I gotta put another one down. Don't forget to put my name down on the list.
Of course, it's gonna be
Well,
there.
and we want to thank Carlos Martinez for hooking us up. Know that you always have a voice here with Mother Love. It has been a joy. Enjoy yourself and know how much we love you. And remember this, babies, no matter how big or tall, short or small, thick or thin.